We continue here with another special playoff edition of Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Sean Meyers joined by Roger Beitel, the head coach of the Ligonier Valley Rams. His team fresh off of a first-round victory in the 2A bracket, 27-20 against Western Beaver. And so first off, Roger, I know you're very happy to be talking to me again. It means your team has advanced, and in the process, a historic win, the first ever postseason win in the WPIAL. What does that mean for you and for this program?
It means a lot, not only to me, but also the program. And I said this after the game, and I'm one of the few people that can say this because I've where we were in District 6 and things like that. I with the comment about, I think the hardest thing to do in all of high school sports is to win a WPIAL football playoff game. And some people have kind of raised eyebrows about that statement. And I said, I mean it. It's extremely difficult, number one, to just get into the tournament. And then secondly, to win in the tournament whenever you have such high quality and high caliber teams. We're just elated with the opportunity that we had to win the football game on Friday night and to be part of history. And, really excited for the kids because, like I told them after the game, Sean, they're the first ones to ever do something, and no matter what, that isn't anything that anyone can ever take away from them. So history's made, and as a history teacher, those are little things that I kind of take a lot of pride in.
I know that a lot of the faces have changed from the last time you had played Western Beaver. It was back in your first year returning to the WPIAL, but you lost that matchup against the Golden Beavers. This time you knock them off. Both games were close. What do you think maybe was the difference this second time around seeing them?
Well, the big difference really was I think that we limited big plays, and that was something that we needed to do in order to compete with them. I mean, they had tremendous athletes across the board in the receiver position, the quarterback position, running back position, and we were able to get key turnovers, which ultimately led to, and this is an amazing statistic, is that we kept them to 45 offensive plays. And that's a lot of credit goes to the defense for the job that they did. And then also to the offense. Long sustaining drives, I think, really took its toll on them. And for us to keep the ball out of their hands was really the difference. When we lost to them in 2020, it was literally 2 plays. We outplayed them, we outgained them, and they hit 2 fade balls at the time they had imagine that, a Lincoln Park basketball player who was 6'5". He was a receiver. It was 2 jump balls, and in both instances, they made the plays and we didn't. So with the exception of those 2 plays, we really outplayed them the first time we played them up there. But again, the cast of characters changed tremendously. And, for our kids, that was the big thing with looking at the game plan going in was, we wanted to really pound them with running the football, and that was something that we were able to do with all 11 guys on the offense.
I know you said the cast of characters changed. One guy who was around for that game and was around, obviously, this time was Hayden Siraki. Now, he was a quarterback back in 2020. What a season he is continuing to have. He factored into all 4 of your scores. He continues to do this, even though he's obviously become the focal point of the opposing game plan. How has it still worked?
Well, first off, a lot of credit has to go to our offensive coordinator, Dave Shannon. He comes up with different ways to utilize him, to move him around, subtle changes here and there. And then it comes down to execution. I mean, it's one of those things where our offensive line has done a really good job of blocking. And when you do that, I mean, even if you know that he's going to get the ball, if those guys impose their will and they're able to move a guy against their will, it really doesn't matter. And really a lot of credit. And I think Hayden would be the first one to tell you he has to go those guys up front. But then, also too, with the change in offense to go back to the wing T with the misdirection and have a lot of other guys, Duncan Faust had his best game of the season offensively for us. John Jablonowski has been a very explosive player for us, and so has Nick Lonis. And when those guys can play their roles and carry the ball, then and they have the opportunity to make a big game, then you can also counter what you do with Hayden the same way. But ultimately in the fourth quarter, when it came down to it, It was get the ball in Hayden's hands and let the offensive line do their job. And he really performed well for us on Friday night on both sides of the.
I know when we talked last week, you said, of course, we wish we were playing at Weller Field, but we have some familiarity with Offutt. So you had to make a little bit of a trek, not nearly as far as what Western Beaver had to travel, obviously. What was that environment like? Did it feel somewhat like a home game? And how do your players respond to that?
I mean, everyone responded tremendously. I mean, I have to give a lot of credit to everybody involved with Greensburg-Salem, their principal, and their maintenance staff and everyone else. I mean, it was top notch. They hosted us like champions, everyone involved. And I can tell you this, Sean, I want to tip my cap not only to all of them, but also to the Greensburg-Salem student section. There was a large contingency of Greensburg-Salem football players that came to the game. They were with our student section and they rooted for us. And you know, I just think the world of that was just a tremendous thing for them to do. And a lot of respect. And that's a team that we played in the regular season. So I definitely want to tip my cap to those kids. But we've played and we've practiced at Offutt so many times over the last, since 2016. We've been there so many different times that it's not anything new for us. And also being on the road. In 2020, we played 6 of our 7 games on the road. 2021, we were flipped and had, a lot of games on the road. And then this year we were actually on the road. And at this point we're 6-0 on the road. So it's something that we're accustomed to. But when it comes down to it, the field's 100 yards long. It's 53 1/3 yards wide. We're playing on the same field. But it's nice that we got a chance to be a little bit closer to home. We took a long trek last year. So as I see it, it was nice that we didn't have to do that. And I'm really not going to feel bad for a team traveling as far as they did because it's something that we did last year.
So we mentioned a historic victory, obviously something that everyone should be proud of. How long do you allow the players and everyone to celebrate? And then how do you quickly turn the focus to what's next?
Well, we allow the players to celebrate a little bit longer than the coaching staff. We were hard at it yesterday, and we're going to continue today. And then basically, our kids are in the weight room right now lifting, and then we're going to get out in the field and we're going to have a walkthrough, install both of our game plans, and give them the keys to victory, and then have them go study huddle film and get right back at it. We'll have time to celebrate when the season's over, but at this point, and this is kind of our experience we've had in the playoffs, is we'll celebrate the things that we've accomplished during the season at the end of the season. But right now we have tasks at hand, and we're gonna get to work, and we're gonna put our best game plan forward to go up there and shock the world and hopefully beat Beaver Falls.
And so to add to that, how do you balance having your team going through practices, but knowing that now you're 10 plus games into a season, 11 games into a season, you don't want to overwork the guys and obviously put more physical strain so that they're not at 100%. How do you kind of find that balance?
Well, again, I've been around a long time, Sean. So what we've found is that as you get into this part of the season, we almost like a baseball player, we have to have pitch counts. You have to manage the load early in the week. You have to allow your kids to get healthy, because that's the most important part of this part of the year. And that is, fundamentals, we're going to kind of back off on, contact, we're going to back off on, and we're going to really focus on game plan execution, because as we see it, it's bonus football. And with the beautiful weather that we've had, the field conditions that we've had due to the weather allows us to get out and practice in a relatively normal situation. So, we're really backing things off. Practice is going to be a little bit shorter. There's going to be a greater attention to detail and a lot more focus on the game plan itself than, say, what you do at the beginning, the first third of the season. And when you're focusing on fundamentals and you're still trying to get kids to know how to block and tackle. When you get into week 12, your daylight's a little bit shorter, and the kids have played enough football that they don't need to be banging on each other. So we won't really have much in terms of contact this week, because again, the most important thing is your health on a Friday night.
So you go against Beaver Falls, as you mentioned, be played at Geneva College. One thing that stands out about their team, obviously they have a lot of great players and a winning tradition, but their quarterback's a pretty experienced and pretty talented player in Jaron Brickner. How do you try to slow him down, and what challenges does he pose?
Well, I think he's a great player, and he's going to get his plays. We know that the whole offense runs through him, and if you look at them and you break them down, when they need a play, they rely on him. He can throw the ball well. He runs the ball well. He's a big kid. Came in with, I think he was a preseason Trib Total Media top 25 player in the region. Went to Kennywood, enjoyed all that fanfare. So we know he's a top quality player, but he's surrounded by a lot of kids as well. And sure, we want to slow him down, but our big thing again is we want to eliminate the big play. And force them to drive the length of the field. They have really explosive athletes, Sean, that can go the distance anytime they touch the ball. But if we can take those and turn those, instead of being long touchdown runs or passes, and just turn them into longer gains and then first down again, that's been our success over the last several weeks, going against a lot of high profile players. And our game plan will be very similar this week as well. Our philosophy has always been, let's see what they do best and have them try to beat us doing something that they don't want to do. And that's kind of the same type of thing that we're going to do this week is, I know that they want to go over the top throwing the football. So again, let's give them the underneath things. We know what they want to do when the quarterback is in the shotgun compared to what he's like when he's under center, and who they want to have the football. So it's just, for us, it's try to take away a few things, work the analytics, really work on the breakdowns, and do our best to take away what they do. 51% of what they do is double tight. So we have to be solid against double tight. If we can force them out of double tight and go to some other formations, then we're getting them out of their comfort zone. And then I think that we're in a position where they're doing something that they don't want to do. So, it's for us, I'm a little bit more of a philosopher about things in coaching football. So I always say, let's be comfortable being uncomfortable, and let's make the opponent uncomfortable. And that's kind of what we want to do.
I know you talked about the fact that you've been around a long time and had a lot of success as a head coach, but for these players, some of whom are 15, 16 years old, I would think it could be potentially intimidating to go on the road to play against a number 2 seed that has an incredible football tradition like Beaver Falls does. How do you make sure that is never in the mind of your players as you're making that trip to Geneva?
The big thing is that we just basically give them a plan. And we treat everybody that they're kind of nameless and faceless. Sure, we respect the tradition, but we're not going to get caught up in all of that. Because if you do that, then you kind of, they're young kids. They're going to get the mindset that they can't win. Our mindset has been from the beginning of the playoffs is, why not us? And if you start to study the history of football and look at all the different teams, there's always that dark horse that emerges out of the playoffs that a lot of people wrote off and thought to themselves, wow, well, how did this team get here? And, those are the kind of great stories that are part of sport. So we've kind of just sold them on the fact, the why not us mentality. Someone's gonna win the game. Why not us? And it worked, through the end of the end of the regular season, and now as we go into the postseason. And that's one of the things that we're going to continue on. I think that it would be rather intimidating that if we were actually playing at Beaver Falls, and they might see that great tradition and Joe Namath's helmet and all that other stuff. But we're playing the game at Geneva. And so it's kind of almost like, a neutral home game. So they're not going to be kind of exposed to all that tremendous tradition. And we're still kind of babies to the WPIAL. I'd say for the most part, our kids don't know that the rich historical and football history of a Beaver Falls. They're just kind of, okay, we're playing them. And that's what's kind of nice about being the newbies on the block.
Lastly, I know that it's a community at Ligonier that loves football. What has the atmosphere been like? The response been like the last couple of weeks, especially after Friday night?
There's a lot of excitement, that's for sure. And I live here, so for me and especially my wife who works here in town, it's been a lot, seeing a lot of people, and I just like all the attention that they're giving to the kids. And it's all been positive attention, especially where we've been with COVID and all these other different things. This is a nice shot in the arm for the community. Get behind the kids, be proud, bring back that Ram pride that we've had for so long. And really, I think it's a great boost for our community overall. And you see it, especially with the elementary kids. And then the messages that I've received through emails and text messages from people in the community. And then I relay those on to the kids. And it means the world to them whenever they see positive things talking about, their accomplishments, and especially the fact that they relish team. And I think that when you look at our football team, Sean, that's the thing that I'm most proud of, is that the kids we put on the field, they do it in a very selfless way. Well, the way that they act on the field, and that they play for each other. And ultimately, in the end, win or lose, as a coach, I find that we're really successful because we got kids that believe in that type of structure.
Well, Roger, once again, congratulations on the historic win, and good luck on Friday as well.
Thanks, Sean. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate everything you guys do for us and for the kids and the promotion of high school sports.
Absolutely. That's Roger Beitel, head coach of Ligonier Valley.